Now, it's really important, guys, that you decide where you get your advice from. I now only take advice from people that have been where I want to go. Because when I first started, I asked my friends, how can I do it? And they would give me advice. And their advice was rubbish. It didn't work. But they hadn't been there before. So what I started doing is I started asking people that were already professional speakers, how can I get there? And they gave me really good advice because they had been there before. And it's really important, whatever career you want to take, whatever thing you want to do, try and find someone that has already done it because they will give you the best advice. So they told me, reach out to primary schools in your area and speak in those primary schools for free. Why would I do that? And they said, you need to do that because if you speak to primary schools and you record it, then you have evidence that you spoke in those primary schools. So when you go to the 6th school, you can charge them a bit of money. So I did exactly what he said. And it was absolutely incredible. I went from speaking in primary schools, charging £50 for 20 minutes of talking, to speaking at secondary schools and then colleges and then universities. And after a few months, I ended up speaking to over 100,000 people. And I remember thinking, can this really be a thing? When I was going to primary schools, I was doing fitness circuits with kids and then doing a quick assembly on this was my story. And then I was going to secondary schools and do a similar talk as this. And then I started to get awards. And once I started to get awards, everything changed. I started a business called Believe in Greatness because one of my mentors said, look, you're at a stage now where you're speaking to people, and I'm sure there are lots of people that want to be in your shoes. There are lots of people that want to be able to speak to a group of people but struggle. You could charge to help them. So really, will people pay for me to coach them on how to speak? And my mentor said, absolutely. I've been doing this for over 15 years. That's when I started Believe in Greatness. And when I started Believe in Greatness, I got signed onto speaking agencies. Being signed to speaking agencies meant that they were getting work for me. They would email me saying, hey, Frederick, we've got some work for you. And I thought, okay, all I have to do is turn up and speak. And they were doing the hard labor for me. Now, this took time. This took 2-3 years. But I saw myself really progressing in this field. This year, my business got featured on Forbes. This is one of the biggest business magazines ever. And this boosted our credibility so much that I started working with big companies like Shell, like Sky. Now, guys, when I was young, we couldn't afford Sky TV. And now Sky was one of my clients. And this all happened because I sat in a van, I wrote down what are the things that I'm good at, and I Googled, can I make money from doing it? And the answer was yes. And then I found mentors. I found people that had been there before me, and they helped me accelerate the process. I definitely wouldn't be here without my mentors. This year, we took it to another level, and I've been able to travel the world and speak. So in October, I was in Las Vegas speaking at a conference. Now, guys, I had never been to Vegas. And everyone there had been speaking for years. So I was the newbie. I got the opportunity to go to Las Vegas. And last month, I was in Nigeria speaking at a conference there as well. Now, the most important thing about my journey in speaking that can translate into anything is that there are 3 C's to be a go-getter. There are 3 C's that if you follow can help you create any opportunity, can help you live a life outside of the norm of what people think you should be able to do. The first one is creativity, because I couldn't apply to be a speaker. I can't apply to start a business. I had to think outside of the box, outside of the traditional ways of living your life. And if you want to live a normal life and live a 9 to 5, that's perfectly fine. But for some of you, you might be sat there thinking, what do I want to do in my life? You might have got your grades thinking, I'm a little bit disappointed, and what can I do? Or I'm really happy, but what do I do with these? And guys, we live in a day and age where you can do absolutely anything if you are creative, if you think outside of the box, if you use your skill set. So number 1, creativity. Number 2, you've got to be courageous, because when I first started posting on social media, which helped me a lot of my friends thought it was cringe. They're like, why are you posting videos every day? And I had to overcome a lot of that judgment. You guys know how TikTok works. I get TikTok hate all the time. But I got to be courageous. And number 3, you got to be consistent, because nothing comes to people that are inconsistent. When you try something for the first time, you're not going to be amazing at it because it's your first time. But with consistency, you can get there, okay? So really, really, really important. Now, This last part is the most important part. It's the best part because I'm going to break down how I got to exactly where I got to and what I did in each stage of my life. But the most important thing to understand is that your environment changes your level of thinking. So what that means is that when I was working at Sainsbury's, this was my life. I was making £9 an hour working at Sainsbury's, doing 6-hour shifts plus an hour lunch, which wasn't paid. So I'd be making about £54 a day. What did my life look like at that point? Everyone in my social circle was doing the exact same thing, either working at a supermarket or just working in retail. What I was doing is I was watching reality TV all the time, scrolling on social media, and I'd go to a lot of parties. Okay? And I'd spend quite a lot of money going to parties, spending on the tickets, spending on drinks, whatever. Pivotal moment was I'm driving the van and I needed a video that could fill the time. So I just typed in long video on life. And I found a video on personal development. Now, what's personal development? Personal development is your ability to just keep getting better and better and better. And that video on personal development started to sow the seed on the fact that you can get paid for whatever you're good at right now. Whatever you like, whatever you would do for free or you even pay to do, someone would pay you to do that. And that's when I typed in, can I get better at speaking? And then this is what happened the year after. I was speaking in primary schools only. And I was charging £150 for a talk. I was doing 2 talks a day. So in 1 year, I've gone from making £54 a day to making £300 a day. All that changed was that I sat there and I Googled, can I make money from the thing that I'm good at? And I started to develop it, okay? Like I said at the beginning, I spoke to a few schools for free, and then I started charging them. And that free period was really, really important. What changed? Rather than going to parties, I started going to networking events. Networking events are events where other people who are doing well go to. And I'd be in rooms with people that are super successful. Some people were millionaires, and I was in the same room as them. Some of these events did cost quite a bit of money, but it was always worth it because I would be learning a lot. What else was I doing? I was watching personal development videos, I was reading business books, and I started documenting my journey on social media. This is also important because other people that were my clients found me through social media. Okay, so I thought I made it. I'm making £300 a day, I'm a speaker, and then I go to this event that I didn't want to go to because it cost £150 to go, but my mentor said, you have to go to this event. It's for professional speakers. You're going to be in a room with other people that are killing it in speaking, doing much better than you. So, okay. And then there was this dude called Roger Harrop. So Roger Harrop was one of the main speakers, and he was giving us advice. Everyone afterwards is taking pictures with Roger, and I'm like, what's the hype? Who's this Roger guy? So, of course, as you do, I went home and I Googled Roger Harrop. I'm like, who the hell is Roger Harrop? So I go on Google, I typed in Roger Harrop, and I do a bit of a Google search. I'm scrolling through. I'm like, oh, yeah, this is him. Okay, he's been doing speaking for 20 years. But what's the hype? You know, I'm making £300 a day. I'm the man. I don't need any advice. And then I clicked on this link, and my jaw dropped. Roger Harrop makes between $10,000 to $20,000 for an hour of speaking. What? So at that point, all of the notes I made from Roger Harrop, I started to action every single one of them. And the guy knew what he was talking about. So within 2 weeks, I was able to get a gig that paid me £1,000. Remember, I'm making £150 per talk. I took his advice. I was able to get a talk that gave me £1,000. And this is taking advice from people that have been there before you. So at this point, I've messaged him. I've messaged him on LinkedIn. I've emailed him. I said, thank you so much for your advice. So helpful. He didn't reply. And then I got another gig, and I messaged him again. Thank you so much for your advice. He didn't reply. 2 months later, he replied, and he said, Frederick, it seems like you're doing well. Let's go for a coffee. So go for a coffee, and I'm like, look, Roger, you're the best. You've been really helpful. Can you be my mentor? He wasn't convinced. But 3 months later, this website is called AAE. 3 months later, I've got my own profile on AAE. And through AAE, when I speak at conferences, I can now charge between $5,000 to $10,000 for an hour of speaking. Only because I met Roger. I met Roger only because I went to a networking event, took myself out of my comfort zone. And this is the importance of actually investing in yourself and putting yourself in the right circles. At the moment, you guys are in college, But once you are in sixth form, once you are done with school, once you are done with sixth form, the types of people that you put yourself around are the people that are going to drastically change your life. So the thing with me and speaking is that I found my lane. I found the thing that I would do for free. Often when I do these things, I have a videographer with me, and my videographer, he's a friend of mine who was a dentist. He was a dentist and he loved taking videos, and he said to me, look, Frederick, can I get paid to take videos? I will do it for free. I said, bro, absolutely. So my friend Albert started taking videos for people for free, built his portfolio. Now, 2 years later, he does wedding videos. People pay him thousands of pounds for a day to film their weddings. Guys, we're in a day and age where anything that you are currently good at, any skill set that you had, that can be your career. We're in a day and age where anything can happen. But it's all depending on the environment you put yourself in. And if it's not physical, if you can't spend £150 on a networking event, it can be mental. What environment are you putting your mind in? What are you consuming? One of my friends tells me that you turn into what you tune into. So if all you're doing at home is scrolling through social media and looking at cat videos, then you're not going to make any progress. And I'm saying you can do that, but you need to have some balance. Okay, where you put your mind, where you put your body, that can totally drastically determine how your life turns out. Okay, really, really, really important. I truly believe that seeing is believing, which is why, even though now I get gigs in Las Vegas, even though now I get gigs in Africa, I will still come to colleges and sixth forms like these. I was here earlier on in the year to speak to the year 13s. I'm here speaking to you guys. Next year I'll speak to the next year 12s. Because I believe seeing is believing. If I was in year 12 and someone told me, oh yeah, you can start a career and make thousands of pounds from just speaking, I'd be like, what are you on about? But you guys seeing someone that's done it and me breaking down my journey should hopefully inspire you. That maybe your thing isn't speaking, maybe it's writing. Maybe it's not writing, maybe it's taking pictures. Maybe it's not taking pictures, maybe it's teaching. Maybe it's giving people advice. That can be your career, I promise you. But you need to remember the 3 C's. You got to be creative, think outside of the box. You got to be courageous, and you've got to be consistent. Really, really, really important. Now, my company is called Believe in Greatness, as you can see from the hat. And something that really helps me, that I need you guys to help me with, is anytime I do a talk like this, I do a video. It's a selfie video where I say believe in, and the crowd say greatness. All right? And anytime I do that, someone else will see it and they will want to book me. So I need you guys to help me. When I say believe in, you guys are going to say greatness. All right? Well, we're going to do a bit of a practice run. Believe in. Greatness. Believe in. Greatness. All right, I like that, but a little bit more energy, yeah, because it's going on social media, guys.